Certainly a privilege to be here today with this great audience, the panel members. I think you're in for a great day, and we're going to kick it off here in a second with General Nakasone. I want to give a nod out to AUSA, General Swan. Thank you for providing the forum that's going to allow, I think, very good dialogue throughout the morning and the afternoon. What I would encourage everyone to do is, press the panelists, ask the tough questions as we go through the day. The intent is to sharpen our narrative, more importantly, sharpen what our actions are as we move forward. So if you look at the 2018 NDS, it's pretty specific. It states that cyberspace offers state and non-state actors the ability to wage campaigns against American political, economic, and security interests without ever physically crossing our borders. So what does that mean to us? How do we actually take that challenge, look at the opportunities that it presents? And what I will tell you, first of all, we've got to get the right players involved in this. And so for the Army, that's really multiple tribes, as we call them, that have to come together to be able to integrate what can be disparate activities so that we can reduce the amount of seams that an adversary can take advantage of. So when I start to look at the tribes, and this is not all-inclusive, but these are the big boys, I think, that operate in this space in a daily basis. So it's signal, cyber, information operations, electronic warfare, PSYOPs, intel, public affairs, space, the fires community. And all of this really is to enable our commanders to do two things. One is to see the adversary in the cyber domain and the information environment, and then also be able to see themselves. Because I think that's one of the holes in our swing over the years is for our commanders. We do a pretty good job at actually being able to visualize the adversary, what their course of action are, what their capabilities, limitations, how they're likely to conduct business. But sometimes we have a difficult time seeing ourselves in this environment, in this space. And so that's one of the things that we're asking industry, academia, our interagency partners to help us with. So that's a constant requirement, is to improve our ability for cyberspace understanding, situational understanding, not just awareness, but understanding, and situational understanding in the information environment. So those are critical requirements. Now, if you look at Army Cyber, our mission statement is actually is pretty straightforward. So it's integrate and conduct full spectrum cyberspace operations, electronic warfare, information operations in order to provide our commanders decision advantage and freedom of movement in the cyber domain and the information environment, while we deny the same to our adversaries. So think about that. Three principal buckets. Full spectrum cyberspace operations. We spend probably 90% of our effort on operate and defend our networks, because our networks are the foundational weapon system. If our commanders don't have functional networks, then you don't have functional persistent ISR, long-range precision fires, effective mission command, just-in-time logistics, fundamental things like medevac that our forces require, particularly the way we operate in a very dispersed manner, generally in pretty small elements across the battlefield. So our ability to do that is predicated upon that lieutenant or that captain or that major at a combat outpost or a FOB someplace being able to bring the entire power of the United States to his place on the battlefield at a time of his choosing by simply depressing a handset and calling for support or hitting that send button on his laptop or his palm top or his wrist top to be able to let his partners know where he's at, know where the adversary is at, and then be able to provide a series of options that he can use to maneuver against that adversary. So that is critically important, is that network. So that is being able to see the adversary and being able to see yourself. So that's a critical capability as we move forward. So 90% of our effort is against that. Okay, about 10% is offensive cyberspace operations. That's where people generally like to take the conversation immediately. And we say, look, we've got game in there and we've used that game. But what I will tell you is it's full spectrum cyberspace operations that is absolutely critical. Electronic warfare. 3 principal participants that operate in the spectrum. The intel guys who do collection, the cyber guys who use it, the signal guys who are responsible for planning and managing all operations in the RF spectrum. Okay, that's that team for the electronic warfare piece. And one doesn't have dominance over the other. They all have to work together. And so we have to have the tools, again, allows us to see the adversary's operations in the spectrum, how we're operating in the spectrum, so that we can plan those operations, synchronize them at a level that we've never been able to in the past. And then information operations. So the cyber domain is part of the information environment. And what we're seeing as we're going out with our commanders, we want to be able to provide multiple options so they can present the adversary with multiple dilemmas. And they have to be able to maneuver to a position of relative advantage in every domain. So whether it's on the land, sea, air, space, or cyber, that's really what we're attempting to provide our commanders. And what I will tell you is, on a daily basis, we're not just being asked for some technical capability. We're being given commander's intent. We're given broad tasks. And sometimes the best thing I can do on from a cyber side is actually to deliver content, deliver a message. Maybe the cyberspace operation that I'm going to conduct actually creates some type of I/O effect. So it's our ability to integrate those 3 to be able to actually provide those commanders that decision advantage that they require to, again, be able to maneuver to a position of relative advantage, and then they can conduct a range of operations against the adversary. Now, there are operations that are short of war, and we're in a competition, a state of competition every single day. We are operating in the information environment, maneuvering in the information environment every single day. And that's absolutely critical, because my principal boss, who's sitting at the front table here, I think is probably going to talk about the vision for United States Cyber Command. And when I look at my Army boss, General McConville, my responsibility is to figure out how I'm going to take cyberspace capabilities, electronic warfare capabilities, information operations capabilities, and apply those against multi-domain operations. So our commanders, our forces can dominate in every environment, okay, in every domain. And so for Cyber Command, I'm responsible to enable the Cybercom commander to achieve his goal of persistent engagement. And what that allows me to do, and really the task that I derive from the commander of Cyber Command, is to be able to operate throughout the entire operational depth of the cyber domain and the information environment. So that is in red space, it is in gray space, and it is in blue space. And so I've got to be active in all of those environments in order to conduct my operations, because I do not want to give an adversary, I don't want to cede territory to him. I don't want to give him freedom of maneuver. I don't want to give him space that he can operate in to attack me from. So my ability to operate persistently throughout the entire operational depth of not only the cyber domain, but the information environment is the requirement that we have. And our ability to synchronize those operations, being able to take something that you physically can't see and allow a commander to visualize so he understands what's happening, he understands the threat that is attacking him, something he can't normally see. That is one of the toughest challenges of all. So as we go through the day, we're going to talk about the network and how critical that is to our operations, but operations in any domain. We're going to talk about the importance of intel, because in the cyber domain and the information environment, like every other operational domain, intel drives operations. So we cannot afford to have seams. NSA is the greatest enabler, most important partner for Cybercom. On the Army side, INSCOM, Intelligence and Security Command, is my greatest enabler, my most important partner. So intel is central to everything that we do in this environment. And one of the things I think will come out in the discussion today is we're talking about intel and information and the ability to merge these. So when I look at my requirement, it's not just military intelligence, it's not just traditional collection that's going to give me what I require. What we find is we go out and we buy commercial threat intel. Okay, that's what helps me defend my networks in real time. I don't have 1 billion points of presence on endpoints globally dispersed, but we have commercial partners that do. And I want to be able to leverage that just like industry can do. And so we have partnerships that we have built over a period of time that allows me access to that information. The trick is to be able to sense, understand, decide, act, and assess faster than the adversary. So that could be a state actor, it could be a non-state actor. In order to do that, I have to be able to use every type of information that's relevant, whether it's traditional military intelligence or something that I can get from industry, from academia. And so it's not only the data that's important, but it's the tools that allow me to create that situational understanding, my ability to turn that into something that commanders can actually visualize. And then they can take action to either protect their forces or to exploit an opportunity that I'm able to allow them to visualize. So that's about as simple as it gets. And what we're going to do throughout today is we're going to unpack that in those different pieces and parts. So I'm going to stop here, and I'm going to segue into an introduction for someone who actually doesn't require an introduction. The commander of United States Cyber Command, the director of the National Security Agency, and the chief of the Central Security Service. 3 very tough hats. But the ability for one person to be able to synchronize all those activities is absolutely critical. There's very few people that can do that successfully. The person that's getting ready to come on stage is someone who is incredibly talented and gifted. He has the ability to do that, thankfully, for not only DoD, but for our nation. And as General Swan said, all the details of the medals and awards and job history, that's in your bio. But I think what you want to do is you want to listen to our keynote speaker this morning. And please join me with a warm welcome for General Paul Knox.